All right, welcome to the explainer. Have you ever stopped mid-sentence and just wondered where the words you're speaking actually came from? I mean, what if I told you that a farmer in rural India and a barista in downtown Paris might unknowingly be using pieces of the exact same ancient language? It's kind of mind-blowing, right? Today, we're putting on our linguistic detective hats to unpack this thrilling mystery. We're going to see exactly how ancient words connect seemingly disconnected cultures across the globe.
Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap. First, we'll set up this global linguistic mystery. Then, we'll examine exhibits A, B, and C, looking at the words courage, look, and foot. After that, we'll trace the historical pathways and finally wrap up with our shared roots.
So, Section 1, a global linguistic mystery, tracing ancient connections. Just imagine local dialects spoken in Bihar, India, sharing the exact same vocabulary with the historic streets of Paris. How on earth is that even possible? Well, check out this number. The source material actually highlights over 700 shared words linking Sanskrit and regional Indian languages directly to European ones, like Portuguese, Spanish, and French. And look, we aren't just talking about a couple of random coincidental sound-alikes here. We are looking at a massive, undeniable pattern of linguistic DNA stretching all the way across continents. Let's move to Section 2, Exhibit A, Courage and Courageous.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the visual and phonetic similarities. If you read down that column, in English we have courage. Spanish has the related term corazón. Italian has cuore, and French has cœur. Pretty standard, right? But then look down at the bottom row. Over in Bhojpuri, a regional language spoken in India, we find the word kareja, which is sometimes pronounced as koa. The connections across these completely different language families are just absolutely striking.
And honestly, it's not just that they sound alike, it's the profound nuance of what they actually mean. In Bhojpuri, asking someone about their kareja is essentially asking if they have a big heart. It's about possessing inner power, deep emotions, or bravery. It literally captures the exact same meaning as the English and European words for valor and strength. It's the exact same human concept, articulated with the very same linguistic roots, thousands of miles apart.
Moving right along to Section 3, Exhibit B, Look and Lakana.
Let's directly compare these two side by side. On the left, you've got the everyday English word look, meaning to see, obviously. On the right, we have the Bhojpuri terms lokana or lokata, which directly translates to asking someone, can you see it? It is absolutely fascinating to see how a fundamental everyday English word so closely mirrors a common Bhojpuri question.
So, the crucial point is really found when we dig a bit deeper into the ancient roots. The source points us straight to the Sanskrit word loka. Now, this can mean the sansar or the world, but importantly, it also represents the act of seeing itself. And what's cool is this ancient root doesn't just isolate itself to Bhojpuri. The source notes that it branches out to other regional Indian languages too, like Magahi and Maithili.
But wait, the trail doesn't actually stop in India. That exact same low linguistic pattern extends deeply into classical European antiquity. Just look at Latin, where we find lux, and in Greek, los. The source text reinforces that studying these patterns shows us something amazing. Ancient human observation was defined by the exact same syllable across the entire ancient world.
Which brings us to Section 4, Exhibit C, Foot and Pud.
And this brilliantly illustrates the direct phonetic bridge we've been investigating, this time for basic human anatomy. Check out the Sanskrit root on the left, pud or pod. Now glance over at the modern French word for foot on the right, pied, spelled P-I-E-D. The structure there is just remarkably similar, literally building a bridge from ancient Eastern antiquity right into modern Western Europe. Okay, so we have the evidence. The linguistic clues are sitting right in front of us. But honestly, this begs a massive, completely obvious question. How did these words actually travel? What were the actual mechanics of this ancient global transmission? I mean, how does a Sanskrit root end up sitting in a modern French dictionary? Let's explore that in Section 5, Historical Pathways, How Language Traveled. To explain this spread, historians and linguists in our source material have proposed a few major migration hypotheses. First up, there's the hypothesis that around 10,000 Brahmins migrated to Greece in ancient times, which potentially seeded the language there. Second, they point to the massive migration of the Romani people, who traced their motherland back to India. And third, there is the historical presence of the Husseini Brahmins over in Iraq. To detail that last point a bit more specifically, the source claims that the Husseini Brahmins resided in Iraq and actually sided with Hussein or Ali during the early historical conflicts between Shia and Sunni groups. The text makes a point to note that at this time, Iraq was widely renowned as a center of immense knowledge. So this historical intersection of different cultures and scholars provides a very plausible, real-world environment for some deep linguistic exchange.
But here's the thing, the connections aren't just verbal. The source observes that profound cultural similarities exist right alongside the linguistic ones. Across these incredibly distant regions, you find similar gotras, which are ancestral lineages, shared practices like the reverence of the peacock, and even a fundamental shared belief in rebirth. It's like the language traveled, sure, but the culture traveled right along with it.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, Shared Roots, the Power of Language.
So we've looked at courage, sight, and basic anatomy, alongside migrations spanning from India to Europe and the Middle East, but the global footprint might actually stretch even further east. Some observations in the text neutrally suggest there may even be Sanskrit inscriptions carved directly into the Great Wall of China. Now, while our main focus today is on spoken linguistic similarities, this just highlights how incredibly vast the spread of this ancient knowledge might truly be.
Which brings us to the source's concluding takeaway, and it's beautifully captured in this quote. No need of being ashamed of your Sanskrit roots. Our language is so powerful. It's a really great reminder of the enduring legacy and, frankly, the sheer connective power of these ancient linguistic foundations that are still literally shaping how we speak to each other today.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating puzzle to solve in our own daily lives. The next time you speak, whether you're talking about having the courage to do something, looking at a beautiful view, or just putting one foot in front of the other, ask yourself, what other everyday words are you using that might secretly share an ancient global root? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep questioning the world around you.